Don't you wish that you could create some amazing websites with fantasy images and stuff like that rather than the boring text and image layouts that we often do for client websites? Not that client websites are a bad idea, but here's an example website I've gone and built in Bricksbuilder that I'm going to be going through in terms of the components. But what we have is a logo, nav menu at the top, lovely, gorgeous image over there. Headline text, call to action button, begin the quest. And then we got a bit of a parallax imagery going over there with some more text. We then have some further text, and you know, with a bit of an overlap going over here that crosses into two sections or containers. And then we've got a bit of a gallery as well with a button. And if you click any of these, it opens up a grid of 4. By the way, the images came as grids of 4, and I'll tell you where I got the images from in a moment, but that was easy to set up as well. And then further down, we get another parallax effect with a subscription form. Now, the power of this website, I mean, when you look at it, it is very basic. It is just text, call to action buttons, you know, headlines, but it's the power of the imagery that really brings us alive. And I'm going to talk to you now about how I created that in Bricksbuilder. Now, where did I get the images from? Well, Midjourney. I've got a video talking about some of the prompts and stuff I used that would have come out just before this video came out. Go and watch it. The Midjourney, it's free to use unless you subscribe if you're going to be making loads of images like I was over here. But I did loads of prompts to basically get the images I needed for this website, downloaded them, and then stuck them into Bricksbuilder over here. Right, so how did we create this? It's, I mean, look, you can see the sections that I have over here. I'm just going to move my face a little bit so you can see everything a little bit clearer there. So the first section over here contains a container inside of it. And inside that container, we have an image and a nav menu. Now, a lot of people have said, why have you got the container for? Why have you even got the section? You could have done it without having the section, just have a container. The reason why I've done that is that at some point, what if I want to do like an anchor, or maybe I want to add something else into it? It just allows me to be a bit more pernickety or peculiar with my layout. So I like to go with section container, okay? That's just the way I roll, you know, go with it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, inside of here, we have a section. This section doesn't have any styling or anything applied to it, except for the layout. In fact, no, it hasn't even got layout. No, I'm wrong. It hasn't got, no, sorry, I lie. It has the Z index. The Z index for this section is a 2. The reason it's a 2 is because I wanted it to overlap the next section, which is down here. What I find, though, is that it does sometimes automatically do that anyway, but if it doesn't, just put a Z index of 2 in, because this section here has a Z index of 0 or 1. Anyway, back to this section over here. We then have a container. It's got some padding of 10, 10, 10, you know, inside of it. And the layout, basically, there's nothing, I haven't changed anything except to say make it a center. So it's in the center, we've got our image, and we've got our nav menu entered. It's a fake nav menu, by the way, as well. Then we have the second section, okay? This, again, is pretty self-explanatory. Section container, we got heading, basic text, and we have a button. You would, of course, adjust your font, your styling to be how you want. I think I went for REM 5. Yeah, 5 REM for that one. And I think that was about 3 or something like that. Anyway, stylize it how you want. Now, you will notice, though, can you see this does not go all the way across the screen? So if we go over to our container, by the way, if we go to our section, there's nothing happening except the fact it is in the center. If we go to the container, this is all set to be columnar because everything just sits below one another. It is also set to start at the top of the section, and it is left aligned in a way as well. If I go to the style for this, what I have applied, no, I didn't, sorry. No, I did. I added in a maximum width of 1100. So everything that you see on this page is a 1000 by 100 pixel width. Now, if we go back over to this heading, if I go down here to the style and the layout, it has a max width of 50%. If I change this, well, let's just get rid of it completely, right? It goes all the way across, right? I put 50% in, it only goes across 50. Why did I do that? Well, because I didn't want to cover the face of the dragon. That's pretty obvious, right? But that's basically what it is. And the same was done here, but this one was 40% because I wanted it to be a little bit more inwards. I felt it looked better like that. And then we have a button as well, which you didn't have to apply any width there because it's quite teachy small anyway. It's got an orange border and it's got a black shaded background. I'm just going to click on the button very really quickly in case you're not sure of that. Now you will notice though that when I go over to the button over here, I only have layout. Nothing's been done to the background or typography or anything. So have I just how did I style that? Can you see here it says button styles? So if you're not familiar with the Bricksbuilder CSS class system, go and watch our video in Bricks 101, the CSS class. I strongly recommend you do because it really helps you to understand this. But if I click this to enable it by making it yellow, you can now see what I've done in terms of the background colors, the border style over here. If I click the border, look, you can see the orange 111 solid going all the way around. And you can also see the typography as well. What I should mention though, and I haven't mentioned it, is that this page, I have custom loaded the fonts. So if you go to custom fonts, this is using in fact, I don't think it's using the Anton font anymore. I think everything was Lato, but I have custom loaded the fonts, okay? So, if you're not familiar with Bricksbuilder, I would recommend you do that if you care about page speed, performance, and all of that. So what we have over here is, again, a very basic section or container. But the only difference with this one is if I just go over to the section, this has a -125. If I take that off and delete it, this now sits below the other section, which has a transparent background. Look, you can see the image, you can see the nav menu. Let's just pop that 125 back in minus. It pushes everything up. And because I did the Z indexing to be sure, we have the overlap effect going on because now the section one above sits ahead of it. And I've also applied some padding. Look, if I take that away, it started to sit there. I felt 100 looked a little bit better like that. Now, the only thing to mention, of course, which is blatantly obvious, is the background image. We have an image over here. This is from Midjourney. It is a 1186771. Now, that doesn't mean it's not a full 1920 image. However, it still looks okay, mainly because this is concept art. If this was a photo, it wouldn't look so good. You're going to start to get a bit of blur, or depends on the resolution, basically, of it, or how sharp it was. With this concept art, it actually looks really, really good. All of the images are roughly that size, and they still look good. So I'm not losing any sleep over it, but the power of these images is so important. Scroll, top left, no repeat cover. That's basically it, really. We come down to this section. There's, again, nothing stylish going on here. It's just a section with a container. In fact, like there we go. It's just a container, just centered. So the word's in the center, and we have a heading, right? And this container, if I go to the over here to the, well, it's a black color background, and the layout's got padding of 60/60. There's not much more I can say about that, okay? It's just a bit of something just to break it up before we move on to the next load of images. This is a copy of the section we had above, basically, and then all I did was swap out the images, but I also added in another, I changed the container to now contain 2 blocks. So we have a container, okay? We have a container, and that container is set to be row, and we have space between. Because inside the container, I have 2 blocks. Now, by doing row, the blocks now sit side by side, right? Block 1, block 2. By having space between, if I say that this block is 40% and this is 40%, you will automatically get that 20% split in between. If I'd gone 10% and 10% width, you'd have 80%. So what we now have are 2 blocks propped into there. And if anyone's unsure, remember, look, you got your block there, you just drag it in. Let's go to this block number 1 first. This block just contains heading, text, text, text. Why have I got the text there 3 times? Mainly because I wasn't sure how big I was going to make the text. So I just copy, pasted, and, so you would probably only have 1 of them in there. Now, this block, if you go to the style of this, can you see here it says 50%? Okay. So that is going to be 50% of the width of that container, which I've already told you is 1100 pixels because we repeated that all the way through. Okay, pretty simple. Again, you would just do your sizing and your wording how you want. Block 2, though, which again sits side by side, the way this is set up is this is set to align to the right. Look, if I go left, it's now going to be up against block 1. It will now occupy the space in the middle. Now it goes all the way over to the end of that, basically the container over there. This block, if we go to the style of it, is also set to 50%. But why is the image not stretching all the way over? The image definitely has a gap there. Well, if we go into this block, we have an image. That image is currently set to 75%. Look, if I change this to be 100%, that's the 100% width. But rather than me messing around with like margins and border, paddings and anything like that, I just said occupy 75% of that block. So if I make the block be 40% instead of 50, it would be 75% of the 40, right? So just have a think about how you want it to look. The image, well, it's just an image, basically, right? It's just an image. And that's literally it. The only other thing to mention, though, is if I go back to the container, everything does currently sit at the top. If you did not want it to sit at the top, sorry, it's not that one. It's that one there. If I do a line cross axes, now the contents of the blocks will kind of go into the middle. But if you don't click it, it automatically goes to the top. Start like that. And I actually preferred that. It just looked cleaner with it hitting flat on almost to where the start of the text is, which I know it's not exactly there. There's about, 2 or 3 pixels there, but hey, let it go. That was literally it. Oh, by the way, you're probably wondering, let me just jump back up to this section with the dragon. I should have mentioned that the height of this is set to be 100 VH. So it's the full height of the screen. And if I go down to this section over here, this is also 100 VH as well for the section, okay? The container is 1100 inside, but the section is a full height over there. Okay, let's just move on. Because again, this now is literally a copy of what we had above again. But this only contains one block inside. The reason I went for a block was because I'm doing something a little bit different here. This block is also 50%. Basically, it's like what we had above, and I just got rid of block number 2. And here's the trick. When you get something working and it looks right, just duplicate it and modify the contents. Don't always start from scratch, and create a headache for yourself. So inside of this block, we have, well, obviously we've got a background image again. We got a heading. I just put in loads of headings here because I got a bit carried away. Well, what shall I do here? Then down here, I've gone and dropped in some basic text, okay? And this basic text has a dark black background. I didn't want to put in a block. I just went and put in basic text. I've added in some margin, so 30 from, the heading there. Give me some padding inside of it. There's no padding at the bottom. There's no padding at the bottom because this is one section and this is another section. So this is now it almost kind of meets the bottom or the start of this one over here. This is set to be 90% width of the blocks. Look, you can see the border of the block there, but it's only up to 90%. And if we go to, not the content, sorry, the background over here, you can see the black background color there. Pretty simple. Sorry, there's something I've forgot to mention here. If I go to content, no, it's not content, it's container. I've also set the align cell for this to be at the end. So if I was to go like this, start, can you see there's a bit of a gap there? You probably can't see it. Actually, you can see it there. But if I do this to the end, it pushes it now down to the bottom of that container. Because when we go to this container here, which is it this one? Are we in the right one? Yeah, we're in the right one. When we go to this container, just make sure you can see everything. Now it's kind of the opposite all the way around. It's actually a copy of what we had above with a different background image. By the way, this background image over here, we've also applied make sure I'm in the right section. So this section over here, we've got an image and we've also applied a gradient overlay as well. So you go into gradient overlay, you go and pick your color. I've made it be a little bit transparent by about 0.8. I didn't want to go for 2 color, but I felt like the dragon image here again was a bit too bright, so we just wanted to dull it down. This now has a container, again 1100 and all of that. Inside of here we have 2 blocks. Block 1, which is over here, has the basic text, which you can see here. And again, we got the background color that I did above. You'll notice that this now has padding at the bottom, but not at the top, so it meets. Now, you could have used a block and just overlapped it. I went and did something a little bit different because at the time I wasn't sure. Am I going to do this or am I not going to do this? Am I just going to have padding and not have it like crossing over? So I was just messing around here, okay? If we go over to this container though, we have a button as well. And then I've gone and added in a image gallery. Now we are on this side. This is block 1. This is block 2, okay? You're going to look at this and go, well, you've got an L shape going on here. How did you get that? And a gap there. This is block 1. This is block 2. This image gallery just has inside of here a load of images, right? I just picked like grids of 4. A lot of the images came in a grid of 4 because I couldn't be bothered to break them up. That's the truth. I couldn't be bothered, okay? I've just popped them in here. They're set in a grid with a column 2. So column 1, column 2. Okay, and this block is 50%. Now, if we go over to the other block, right, this block is also 50%, okay, and all this contains in here is the image gallery. It's got more images, and we have column 2, okay, and it's basically now just created this effect for us. How have I got the images to both be exactly the same? Well, that's pretty easy, actually. I just went over to my container, ensured it was set to the end. Look, watch the bottom of these 2 images if I was to go and put this at start. Look at that. They're not in line. What about center? They're still not in line. You do that, they are now in line. But then how did I ensure that this one was at the top? Well, look, it's the align cell. Because I'm stretching it, it ensures that it's stretched to the top. Now, you could argue and go, well, you've taken it off and didn't change anything. Before I applied the stretch, it was not doing that. This is now stretching the contents to be at the top and the bottom, okay? And believe me, it works pretty well. Pretty simple so far, right? We then have over here another copy of the section we had above. Just duplicate it and I changed the wording. And then down here on the final section, we have, if I just get this correct, we have over here 2 blocks. Sorry, we have a section and a container. Again, I'm just reusing a previous one I had above where I have 2 blocks. This container, you know, everything is currently set to be at the bottom, space between. Everything is set in a row because we have 2 blocks side by side. This is 100 VH as well. Block 1. If I go to the style is 40%, not 50, 40, and we have an image, which is a logo, we have a heading, we have text, and we have our social sharing icons over here. And you know, you go in and set your colors and where they're pointing and stuff like that. And then in the second block, which is actually only 25%. Why is it only 25%? Well, because believe me, it was quite close to the nose. All right, and when I showed this again to you, you're going to see how I want to make sure it's away from the nose, okay? Inside of here, we just have a form. The container is routed to the bottom axis, so the form now is level to the bottom of, look, you can see the bottom of that, and you can see the bottom of that. It's just a form, basically, and you would stylize it, put whatever you want in there. There is no footer, it's a fake page, but you could be very creative with this. And if we go back again to look at this in preview mode and just view this on the full page like that, you know, we got a nice parallax effect going on, static image there, you know, that, you know, it just, and can you see here now what I mean by the nose? Let me just move myself out the way a little bit. You know, if I'd gone with 30%, it was pretty close to the nose. And again, this is one of the things about using Midjourney, okay? Because the image comes out the way it does, if I say, right, let's move the face to be more over here, even with cropping, then it started to look not as sharp as it did. But over here with concept art, you know, because concept art is all about the blurs and the smudges and stuff like that. This looks pretty cool. And I have to say, you know, it's been a while since I've been able to have a real play with just really mess around. And I really wish we could do much more websites like this, right? You know, because this could be a portfolio, this could be services. You're just thinking out the box, and all I've done is use a bit of imagination with images and, you know, layout, whatever, to just be a whole lot more creative. Hey, I'm Imran, Web Squadron. I hope you like, subscribe, share, and follow. I'll see you soon.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat.